What's up YouTube? I'm Nick Moe and I've just completed Inside, the latest game from developer Playdead since their 2010 debut hit Limbo. And although I've finished the game, I can't seem to get the world of Inside out of my head. There's something so haunting about the world of Inside, it just feels like a playable nightmare. However, I believe this nightmare tells a story so dark and twisted I almost can't accept it. This is my take on the story of Inside, a little something I'm calling the Escape Plan Conspiracy. If Inside is like a playable nightmare, then just like any real dream or nightmare, everything is open to interpretation. Everything you're about to hear is my take on the story, and if you see it another way, be sure to let me know. Also, this goes without saying, but this is a final call for spoilers. I'm about to give away every aspect of this game, and it is certainly a game to play first without any spoilers. Trust me, you will not regret it. Inside opens with our protagonist, a red-shirted boy wandering alone through the woods. If you'll recall, this is very similar to the beginning of Limbo, and though the boy seems visibly frightened, the player character deliberately walks towards danger. This is an important concept, and it's one that a lot of people tend to gloss over. At the beginning of the game, the protagonist is not on the run, and he's not being pursued. Rather, he is the one creating danger by moving towards these mysterious masked men in the woods. We have no context for his actions, so we as the player are left to fill in our own. As I began Inside, I believed the boy to be heroic in nature. I foolishly believed he lost someone and was venturing into this dangerous place to figure out where they were. By the time I had finished the game, I realized just how wrong I was. In fact, I believed the boy in red was never in control of his actions, and that he, much like the abducted, mind-controlled zombies that we see throughout the game, is being controlled by someone or something. In fact, I believe that we, the player, yes, that's you holding the controller, are a larger piece in this conspiracy than we realize. But before we dive off the deep end here, let's do a brief recap of the events of Inside so you can better understand what I'm about to reveal to you. As previously mentioned, we begin in the woods before entering what appears to be a normal country farm. But upon entering the barn, we realize that the farm is being used to perform tests using parasitic worms to control the minds of livestock and even other humans. I'd also like to point out that we've seen similar parasite worms before in Limbo, so this connection could theoretically place these games in the same universe. We then venture deeper into an industrialized area where it's clear human rights are being violated in an alarming way. The further we go into the world of Inside, the more we question what humans are capable of. We see mind-controlled slaves being inspected and possibly auctioned off to the highest bidder. We see genetic testing and experimentation. We encounter what appears to be human body harvesting and farming. We run into scientists and employees who have made whole careers on enslaving and murdering other innocent people, even going so far as to bringing their children to work with them. We see horrible experiments being broadcast for crowds and live television, and then in what might be the greatest finale in gaming, we experience the Blob, a horrifying ball of human flesh and body parts suspended in an aquarium-like enclosure constantly being monitored by teams of scientists. The Blob is grotesque, the Blob is disturbing, and the Blob is one of the major players in my conspiracy theory. The Blob is connected to what appears to be life support through 4 tubes with blinking yellow and orange lights. The ends of these tubes bear a striking resemblance to the mind control caps we've seen elsewhere in the game, and I believe the yellow lighting on the Blob's support tubes indicates that the Blob is capable of controlling the minds of others. Think like a queen bee at the center of a beehive, but a lot more disturbing. You see where I'm going here? Take for a moment and recall the game's various mind control puzzles. Every time we as the player need to control another zombie, we must put on a helmet and control them one at a time. In order to control the thousands of slaves being processed by this horrible factory, it would take an equal number of scientists controlling them one by one. Unless, of course, they created a way of controlling the zombies without ever having to put a mind control cap on. And yes, I'm talking about the Blob. I believe the Blob is the center of the entire operation, controlling thousands of mind-controlled victims at once, automating the factory under the careful control of its creators. However, the Blob never chose this reality. The Blob, much like the other zombies, is being held against its will, and unlike the zombies, the Blob is powerful enough to realize this. Basically, the scientists have created a monster and they have no idea what it's capable of. At this point, you probably have an idea of where I'm going with this, that our red shirt protagonist has been under the influence of the Blob the entire time, and that the Blob used the boy to set in motion a plan to escape its enclosure and wreak havoc on its creators and escape its terrible existence. You're close, but the game's alternate ending makes things a bit more complicated. If you were to power down all 14 of the game's hidden orbs, you will gain access to a hidden room buried deep beneath the cornfield found at the beginning of the game. This room is where the game's alternate ending takes place. Hidden underground, we find a final mind control device, and it appears to be connected to a series of computers. The implication here is that the blob was capable of manipulating people over a communications network like the internet. During this alternate ending, the player can pull a wire, severing this mind control device from the computers. And when that occurs, two very strange things happen. First, as the device is disconnected, the red-shirted boy slumps down in the exact same position as the rest of the mind-controlled zombies, a clear sign that he was also under mind control this entire time. And number two, and perhaps the most important piece of this entire conspiracy theory, when you pull the cable, the screen slowly fades to black, marking the only time we ever lose visual connection with the player character throughout the entire experience. Even in the normal ending with the blob on the beach, the credits roll and we technically still have eyes on the character, he's just been absorbed into the blob. This is a big moment in understanding this game's story because it brings us, the actual player, into the experience. As the screen fades to black, we actually return to the title screen, indicating that yes, this was an actual ending to the game. We have severed our connection with the boy and the game ends. I believe that the blob used us, the player, to set in motion a plan to break free of its enclosure and seek revenge on its creators for its existence. Much like the puzzles within the game, where you have to use one zombie to control another, I believe the blob is using us, the player, to guide the red shirt boy on a path to set the blob free. I know it sounds insane, but just think about it. As the red shirt boy endlessly marches towards danger, he expresses fear. You can hear his heartbeat. You can hear his breathing getting heavy, and yet he marches on. He isn't like the other zombies. He's aware of what's happening around him, and yet he is not in control. This is because we, the player, are in control, and the blob is using us as a proxy to hide its plan. The blob is able to plot an escape, and its creators are none the wiser, thanks to us, the player. This is the basis of my conspiracy theory, that powering down those orbs and breaking the connection with the boy implies that we, the player, were involved in the events of Inside, and that we are the reason that the boy continues to walk towards danger. We are the motive, and we are the catalyst that sets into motion the blob's escape plan. If you're a bit perplexed by the insanity of this theory, you are not alone. Despite the evidence before me, I still find myself questioning scenes I saw with my own eyes. What of the scientists who aided in the blob's escape once it was free of its enclosure? And who was in control of the water child who gifted us the ability to breathe underwater? If the blob was in control of the player, why would it allow us to power down the orbs and lead us to the secret hall? Was it to cover its tracks? I don't expect to find an answer to all of Inside's mysteries anytime soon, and that's a good thing. A game which makes us question everything is an experience worth playing, and Inside will continue to haunt me for the foreseeable future. Okay, there you have it. That is my personal take on the twisted world of Inside. Be sure to give me your best conspiracy theories in the comments, and if you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check out my take on the ending of Firewatch. And a huge shout out to all my subscribers who gave me wonderful feedback in the early days of my channel. You guys are awesome, and I'm playing through some of the games that you guys have suggested to me as we speak. Alright, I'm out. See you in the next one.